Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on a Saturday morning here in Melbourne, here on Lockdown Saturday. Of course, let's go to our friends over in the US in particular, and of course they're not in lockdown at the moment, but it's great to have the music scene back up and running up there in the music city in Nashville, Tennessee, and of course we got a very special guest on the show because her name's The Bells. She joins us right now. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be here on Zoom with you.
No worries. Well, tell us, how's it been like in 2021 for you, especially on the music scene during this pandemic?
Oh, it's been good. I think so it was actually crazy. I was in Australia. I was in your country in January of 2020. And I got back at the beginning of February. So really right before the entire world shut down, and I was touring over in Australia, and I was getting ready for a whole big 50-date US tour in 2020 that all got canceled. But so after that happened, I really, decided to just focus on my craft, and I started writing at least one song every day and focusing on social media and posting on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and trying to build an audience online while we were all in lockdown. And that was, really great for me. I really grew as a songwriter and as just an artist in general and figuring out what I wanted to say. So in 2021, I've just been releasing a bunch of songs and a bunch of songs that, people liked on TikTok or that I really like, and making a couple music videos. Had the opportunity to play a couple shows here and there, and a lot of shows in Nashville actually, now that it's been a little bit more open. So that's been great because the thing that I love most in the world is performing. So I really, really missed that last year, and it's been great to do that a little bit this year. And I'm hoping that next year I can actually hit the road pretty hard.
So all the shows that you've done this year in 2021, mainly in the Music City, I guess how's it been like? And I guess has the city gone back to the vibrant music city it is before the pandemic? And obviously that everything that went horribly wrong of last year.
Yeah. Well, I will say the first show I played back in Nashville was, I think, in March of 2021. And at that time, it was still very much in lockdown, and it was kind of an empty, bar, and everyone had masks on, and it felt, a little bit odd, but also it was just so great to actually be performing that it didn't really matter to anyone. We were all just excited to be there. And for a while here in Nashville, there was a limit on how many people you could actually have on stage. So you couldn't really perform as a band. You had to just perform like acoustic, or with one or two musicians could only be on the stage at one time. But eventually, as things have started to open back up, it's kind of gotten to the point now where it's pretty much, it looks like pre-pandemic life out here. It's very crowded, lots of tourists. There's shows going on everywhere every night, and it's been pretty crazy. But at the same, it's been, great as a performer to see, but also, you gotta, worry about everyone's safety and everything. So it's been a catch-22 a little bit, but I've just enjoyed the opportunities to play more writers rounds and songwriting events, and getting to see some of my friends a little bit more, but trying to stay safe at the same time. So
It's about releasing music this year already. Tell us how the feedback been like?
Yeah, so that's probably been the best part of this year for me. Was I just started posting a bunch of my demos and unreleased songs on TikTok, and I had 3 of them go viral. And that was amazing. And the first one that went viral was this song called Hat No Cowboy. And it was kind of making fun of guys that dress up like cowboys but aren't actual cowboys. And I love that song. So I put that one out, and that was super cool. And then I had another song go viral called That Girl. And then this last song I had, it went really viral. It got up to 5 million views and 1 million likes. And that one was called He Gave Me a Ring. And I just put that song out 2 weeks ago, I think. And
Yes.
The reaction from that has been just blowing my mind. So I'm just feel super grateful. And then so actually next week, next Friday, I'm releasing my EP of basically all the music that I've recorded this year. There's going to be 5 of the songs are already released, but there's 2 new songs that no one has heard yet. So I'm really excited for everyone to hear those too. And I'm just, I'm playing my first full band like headlining show in Nebraska that night. So I'm really excited for that and to see, a bunch of familiar faces that I really haven't seen since COVID. So that'll be really fun. And yeah, just really excited to kind of celebrate the past year. And yeah, it's been great.
So does that mean you're TikTok famous now?
You know what? I have a weird relationship with that because I don't feel like a TikTok famous person. But then now that I have like 200,000 followers, I guess I am TikTok famous technically. But I don't really know. My friends say that I'm TikTok famous, but I would probably say, no, I'm not. I don't have like a million. I mean, I have 200,000, but anyway, yeah.
You mentioned that obviously you got your EP coming up hopefully by the end of this year. I guess when are you hoping to release that, and especially for our Australian listeners?
It comes out actually next week. It comes out August 27th. So really soon, and I'm really excited about that. It's going to be called All Hat No Cowboy, the EP. So yeah, it'll be fun.
So the first song you mentioned, obviously, which is the title of the album. Now, how did that all come about? And I guess when did you actually start thinking about that?
So I'm from Nebraska, which is like smack dab in the middle of the US. It's mostly farmland. And so I know like what a real cowboy looks like. But I actually hopped on a Zoom writing session with 2 of these guys that I had never even met before in person or online or anything. And we were just kind of getting to know each other. And one of my co-writers said like, how sassy like are you? Like how sassy of songs do you like to write? And I'm like the sassiest person that I know. Like if you have an idea for a sassy song, like please pitch it to me, And he said, well, I had this idea called All Hat No Cowboy, but I've just been looking for the right person to write that song with. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly how to write that song. I know exactly what that song should be about. And I definitely know the type of guy that would pertain to. So we wrote that song really fast, and we were just having like a fun time making jokes about it, like just having a blast. And I put that one up on TikTok, and I honestly had no idea that it was such a universal thing that like everyone can relate to. And playing that song live and like explaining the fake cowboy thing, especially because I played that song in Nashville a lot, and sometimes in the audience are dudes that have like cowboy hats on, and it's just really funny. It's been a blast. So I'm super grateful for that song. I love that song, and it's so fun to play out, and it was a great song to write. And yeah, I'm grateful for my co-writer having that idea and bringing it to me for sure.
Want to give him a bit of a shout out then?
Yeah, that was Andrew Copra and Dan Harrison. Those guys are fantastic, and I've gotten to meet them now since we wrote that song, and they're just the best. So yeah, it was great.
So considering it's going to be released this time next week, when are you going to start touring? I'm assuming you mentioned before that you're starting back in your home state of Nebraska.
Yeah, so I have a show next week in Nebraska, in Omaha, at this bar called Barnado. Next Thursday, that's the EP release party, which I'm super excited about. And then after that, I'm just going to be playing, maybe a couple shows a month here in Nashville at different venues. But next year, I have 37 shows on a tour opening for JoJo Siwa from January to March. And then I just recently signed with Kincaid Booking Agency here in Nashville, which I'm so happy to be working with them. So it looks like next year I will be touring a lot. So I'm very excited about that.
You mentioned before at the start, before the pandemic, that you're over here in Australia, obviously in Brisbane, Sydney, and here in Melbourne.
Yep.
What's the best thing about being down here? Because I know, as we spoke about before we came on, that you love being here in Australia, and especially our weather, especially our beautiful summer. I guess what's the best thing about being down in Australia? And for our Australian fans, when are we hoping to have you down here again?
So, okay. I loved Australia, and like in all these interviews everyone asks me like what's the favorite place that you've been, and I always say Australia. I loved Sydney a lot. We actually got to stay at this really cool hotel that was right on the water, right by the Sydney Opera House, and it was just gorgeous, beautiful. I got to go to Bondi Beach. I got to just walk around the city. I got to have like a sushi dinner, which I love sushi, and sushi there was mind-blowing. I seriously I loved pretty much everything about Australia. And some people ask me like where would you want to live in the world? I literally say Australia. Like I loved it there, like completely. I felt like this was like meant where I was meant to be, not in Nebraska. Anyway, but when would I currently don't have any plans, to come back to Australia, especially with COVID and everything that's been going on. But I for sure want to come back. I absolutely loved it there. I would, get on a plane and go there in a heartbeat, honestly. But hopefully there will be some kind of opportunity that will take me to Australia again eventually.
How did you get involved in music, and why did you choose it?
So my grandma was actually a jazz singer in Chicago. And then my mom was in a pop band in the 90s that was signed to MCA in Los Angeles, called Mulberry Lane. Mm-hmm. So I actually grew up touring with my mom's band, just like going around to their shows. And literally ever since I was a kid, like since I could talk, I've always wanted to do music. Like in preschool, I had this thing like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wrote like a rock star. I don't really know if I ever really chose music or if it just like chose me or if it's just because it's in my family, but this is like the only thing that I've ever wanted to do and the only thing that I'm actually good at doing. So yeah, that's about it.
So as a follow-up to that, then you mentioned that the one thing you wrote when you were a kid was being a rock star. Now I'm assuming that hasn't quite gone to plan so far in regards to being a rock star, but are you hoping to be a rock star eventually, and is that dream still alive?
Oh yes, it's definitely still alive, but I will say everyone has these big dreams, and as when you're a kid, when you're in high school, and when you actually get out into the real world and try to make these things happen, things definitely don't go as planned. And especially like with COVID and everything that's happened over the past 2 years, there's been a lot of challenges, a lot of setbacks in my professional life and my personal life, just in everything. And, I've just kept going and kept persisting through them, and things are really starting to turn around for the better, which I'm super happy about. But I would just, say that and to anyone that's trying to pursue a dream, you just have to keep going. And eventually things will go your way if you just keep persisting through them. But it's definitely not all sunshine and rainbows all the time, for sure.
What will be some highlights throughout your music journey so far?
So I got to play in 2019. I went on tour with Jojo Siwa, and going to Australia, going to the UK was a huge highlight. I got to play like the big arena in my hometown, which was a huge, I never thought that I would be playing there type deal. And I got to play the big arena in Nashville where I live now, which was amazing. So all of those highlights were incredible. But I think a big highlight just recently has just been the success that I've had with my songs going viral and have people really connect to my songwriting, because that is something that I've worked really hard is on is my craft of songwriting and trying to, you know, say something new and different and something that's really me, and having people connect with that has been so incredibly rewarding. So that's been a huge highlight as well.
What does the music scene mean to you?
I now, especially now that I've had the opportunity to really like be here in Nashville and go out to shows and uh you know, just be able to meet a bunch of people, it's become a lot more meaningful to me, because now the music scene is not just the music scene, it's like, oh, these people are my best friends, you know, and I've become great friends with so many songwriters that I write with on a daily basis, and it means a lot more to me now than it really did ever before, because especially during the pandemic I met a lot of these people on Zoom, and you can't really build like a great friendship on Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's been so cool to really get connected with those people. And there are so many great people, especially here in Nashville. And when this community gets around you, because I recently played a full band show here in Nashville, which was my first full band show. And I invited a bunch of people and they all, you know, showed out for me and were really there supporting me. And it just meant the world to me. So the music scene now is just kind of, I've realized, and people have said this in interviews for years, that the music scene in Nashville is like a family, and for me it really feels like that now.
What's your future ambitions past this year?
So next year I really want to, you know, tour a lot, continue to grow my fan base and everything, but at this point I am like a completely independent artist. I do mostly everything myself. I did just sign with the booking agency, which was amazing. I'm so grateful for that. But you know, I still don't have a manager or record label or any of that stuff. So that's a big goal for me, is to kind of get to that next level in the industry of having that kind of team around me. So I'm hoping that that will happen in the next year, but big dreams, obviously I would love to have, like, you know, a #1 hit song, my own tour, be on the radio, like all that stuff, but those are, you know, it's all stepping stones. I think that's what they say. Yeah.
The question I want to ask, also you mentioned that you're from Nebraska, now you're in Tennessee at the moment. When did it come to you that you wanted to, you know, move out of your home state to come and, I guess, pursue your goals in Tennessee?
I went to college in Nebraska, in my hometown, for a year, and I was actually a chemistry major because I was really good at math and science growing up, and I was kind of choosing between, do I want to do music or do I want to take like the quote normal, you know, path of getting a regular job and all that stuff. And so I was going to school and then also playing a bunch of shows every weekend. I was like skipping class to go write songs and just do stuff like that. And eventually my teachers kind of sat me down and they were like, hey, you have to like commit yourself to school if you're going to do it. And at that point, I kind of decided that my heart really wasn't in it and that I should pursue music. And I kind of thought to myself, there's no point in pursuing music unless, you know, you move to where the music is being made that I want to be a part of. So at that point, I decided to move to Nashville. And it was honestly, in that moment, it was a very impulsive decision. I just signed a random lease here without even seeing where I was living. But it all worked out for me. So yeah.
I've never heard that last part of it, but I'm not even gonna ask about that part of that answer. Your advice to people that should get involved in music, especially during this pandemic?
I would say invest more time than you want to in social media, because it does actually end up paying off. That's one thing. Another thing that I love John Mayer. Like, he is like my like idol. Like, I'm obsessed with him. And he has this one quote that was like, if you want to write a good song, then just keep writing a bunch of bad songs and eventually write a good one. And that is something that I really like, you know, subscribe to the last year, is just write a bunch of songs. And like, honestly, when I wrote All Hat No Cowboy, I had no idea that people would like it so much at all. And even He Gave Me a Ring, I had no idea either. I mean, you just don't know. So just keep writing and don't get discouraged about it. And just, have an open mind with whatever you're writing. And I just think the key to this business is the people that actually make it are just the people that don't give up doing it, that just keep going. And eventually something will turn around and something will happen for you if you just keep going and keep getting better and try not to get too discouraged. But yeah, that's probably my best advice that I would give to someone, but I don't know what I'm doing. So
let's finish up with a couple of lighthearted questions as well, which is, do you have any embarrassing moments on stage?
Yes. Oh, yes. I would say probably my worst moment on stage was I was playing an arena show in California. I can't remember. I think it was Anaheim or Oakland. Like a big like LA arena show, 10,000 people there, packed, right?
Yeah.
And on that tour, I play a lot of shows with a full band, but on that tour, it was me and then my mom playing guitar for me and then tracks. And we were just, going on our merry way, singing our songs, doing the same thing we do every night. And then all of a sudden, the tracks stop and they make this horrible noise and they just stop working. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I'm like, what do I do? So then I just kept singing like a cappella and it was really awkward. And it's like a huge show. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Then after I finished that song, I heard, because we were in-ear monitors, I heard the sound guy in my in-ears tell me like, okay, I got the tracks up again, like just keep going. So then it was fine, but it was like a 1 minute of just complete panic. That was horrible. So that's probably my worst / most embarrassing stage story.
So how did the crowd think about that? Could you see their reactions at all?
Yeah, a little bit. They were kind of like, what's going on? Which was also my reaction. But then they were fine. They got behind you, and that was I will say that tour was 98 shows. And that was the only show that was messed up. So if that's the odds 1 in 98, then that's pretty good, So I'll take it.
Always ask this question to all of the music artists I have on the show, which is, have you ever forgotten a lyric to a song? And if so, how do you try and cover it?
Oh, I do this all the time. Like, I have a really hard time with lyrics. I do. And it's not that I don't know them. It's like I get distracted and they slip out of my brain. But this is actually a trick that my mom taught me. So like, I don't even know what's like a line in any song that's going to come to my brain. I don't know. But I just go like, za, 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 like this, just like make up whatever. Like, it was midnight, just like nonsense. And no one notices. As long as you say some kind of syllables that matches what it's supposed to be, then you're fine. That in my opinion, because I've messed up the words a lot. There was one summer where I forgot the words to Gunpowder and Lead, which was one of my songs in my set for the entire summer. And I faked it every single time. And I would always forget to look up the actual words. So, I don't think people will know if you just keep saying something that doesn't make sense.
Do you have a pre-performance superstition or ritual?
So I always try to start one and then I always forget to do it. So no, I don't. So there's sometimes with my band, we do like pinkies like this. Good luck. But there's been so many shows where I don't do that. I just forget or something crazy happens. So I'm not a very superstitious person. I will say that. But it's kind of nice sometimes to, have that connection before you go on stage. But I also have the time I forget. So
the last question I'm going to ask is for anyone that should follow you on social media or through their favorite music streaming services, how can I go about following you?
Yeah, so my handle on like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, it's Bells Music, BELLES Music. And on Spotify, it's just under Bells, Belles, Apple Music, iTunes, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Well, Bells, thank you so much for giving up your time to join us. It's awesome having you on the show. And obviously, we can't wait to obviously promote your EP coming out this time next week. And hopefully, maybe we'll get you back on the show again, hopefully in a couple of weeks to tell us all about it. And especially, hopefully, maybe get a live performance from you next time we have you on the show.
Sure. That sounds great. Thank you.
No worries. And that's Bells there joining us there, of course, from Nashville, Tennessee, because as we mentioned, of course, her new EP is coming out this time next week, which is obviously Friday, the 27th of August, which is Saturday, the 28th over here in Australia. There's more on the Smash Everything show right here. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.